Good afternoon, everybody. I appreciate you taking the time to hear from us. I just want to say on behalf of the Broncos organization, I want to thank Vic Fangio for the work that he did over these last 3 seasons. Vic said when he got here that he would give us maximum effort to do everything he could to be successful. As I said in my statement earlier this morning, he put his heart and his soul into this job, and I've never seen a coach work harder. Unfortunately, the results weren't there, and
you'll hear Joe Ellis in a public setting. The second being after they hired the head
at the end of the day,
yeah,
we're judged on one thing, and that's winning. And it's about results. And for the last 5 years, the results have not been there. Vic was here for 3 of them, but our fans, our players, our team, our entire Front Range region deserves a winning team. And we have made a step here to go forward, turn that around. George Paton, who you will hear from here in a minute, he is charged fully to lead this coaching search. This decision will be his decision. He has full authority over the search, and he will make the decision as to who will be our next head coach. I would just say, in understanding everybody's disappointment and frustration, a lot of us here are responsible. And we share in that accountability for what has happened here over the last several years. It's not just the coaching. There are a lot of fingerprints on this throughout our entire operation, and they include my fingerprints. And George is now going to lead this coaching search and get us the right guy to help us turn this around. I'll support George along with the rest of the organization where he needs the support from us. We'll have all the resources to get the best possible coach we can get. And, I look forward to watching George in action here as he brings us our next great head coach. I did want to touch on one other matter before I turn it over to George, and that is ownership. I had told you, I think back in July, that I would speak to you as soon as the season was over about a transition in ownership. And I think most of you are familiar with the fact that we are in a trial or a case is in the hands of a court, the right of first refusal case between an agreement between Edgar Kaiser and Pat Boland. And out of respect for the court, I'm going to wait and get back to you at a later date on that. I'm not going to be able to take any questions. I want the court to be able to let its process see through to the end. And from there, I'll be able to get back to you and let you know where things stand. But I don't have a timeline on that. I want to just respect the court and let the judge decide what decision will be rendered at what time. That's certainly her decision. So with that, I'm going to bring up George Paton to address you. And then if you have questions of me at the very end, I'll come back up here. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe, and good afternoon, everybody. Obviously a tough day here. And you all know the respect I have for Vic Fangio. And I just want to thank Vic for his service the past 3 years and specifically the past year. Me working hand in hand with Vic, and we had a great partnership and a great working relationship and a great friendship. And so obviously this is very tough. But one thing that, the record may not be reflective of where we're at, but one thing about Vic Fangio, he's the best coach I've ever been around. And I don't take that lightly. His attention to detail, his toughness, his work ethic, and his football mind is unparalleled. And I just want to thank Vic for that. And he left this place, a lot better off than when he arrived. And he steadied the ship. The 3 years he were here, they weren't easy. The first 2 years, a lot of things were going on here, injuries, COVID, you name it. And then this year, we kind of had a little more stability. Obviously, had some injuries, but Vic never wavered. He worked his butt off. Our guys played their ass off every game, and that's a tribute to his leadership. And I can't thank him enough for what he's done. I also want to thank the coaching staff. This is a really good coaching staff we've had here, and it's a tough day for them. It's a tough day for our building, and it's just not about them, but they have families, they have kids, they have spouses, so I can't thank them enough for their service and for their work ethic and developing players. And again, we played the Chiefs yesterday, and we didn't have a lot to play for, but you saw the effort our guys played for, and that's a tribute to Vic, and it's a tribute to our staff. So I can't thank them enough. Looking ahead, obviously there's a lot of work to be done. I do feel we made some strides. There's a foundation in place, but there's a lot of work to be done, and we're not satisfied. And we're going to take a critical look at every aspect of our football operation, and it's just not the coaching. Everyone wants to blame the coaching. We've had 5 head coaches here in 9 years, so something's not working, and we all need to be better across the board. And that starts with me personally. It starts with our staff, our entire building, our players, and we need to take a look in the mirror and take responsibility for where we're at and be urgent to get us out of this and get sustain a winning culture year in and year out. And that process starts, with this head coaching search, and we're excited to learn more about some of these great candidates. And it's going to be a collaborative process to find the best head coach for the Broncos. And we're going to be thorough. We're going to be open-minded. We know this is a critical decision, and we're going to get it right. With the foundation we have 11 picks. We have over 50 million in cap room. We have great resources with Joe Ellis and John, and we have the best fans in the NFL. So that we know we're going to get the best candidate on the market. We're really confident of that. And with that, I'll take your questions.
Lead us off, Jeff.
George, as you said, you're looking for essentially the 4th head coach in a 7-year span. Is this a quarterback problem, an organizational problem, all of the above? And then as the follow, I'm just curious as to, was there a scenario where Vic could have offered to make changes on his staff or any way of doing things that would have kept him on?
Yeah, it's a good question. I've only been here a year, so I think it is an organizational problem that we need to fix. You can't keep recycling coaches and expect, to sustain a winning culture. It's hard, but we're going to get it right, and we're going to get it right with this search. I can guarantee you that.
Go ahead, Ryan.
And then the follow, please. Was there a discussion about what changes Vic could make to how he does things with the staff that would have saved his job?
I had some great meetings with Vic over the last couple of weeks, really all season. We meet with Vic daily, weekly, and we had some really good discussions, but at the end of the day, we just thought it was best to make a move at this time.
Go for it, Ryan.
Hey, George, 2-parter for you. The first one is, would you learn from your Minnesota experience with a coaching search there that you'd can apply to the Broncos? And also, who, besides yourself, who will be taking part in the interviews for the Broncos?
Yeah, I would say with the Minnesota search, the one search I was on the front end is be very thorough. Take your time. You don't need to be in a hurry. There's a lot of really good quality candidates, and it's really important to talk to them all. And, we have a small group, a tight-knit group we're working through that'll be a part of the search. And again, we're looking forward to it.
Arnie Stapleton, go ahead.
Hey, George. Do you agree with Vic's contention yesterday that the foundation is so solid that the team is on the cusp of returning to a winning brand of football? And if so, do you expect immediate success, immediate results from your new head coach? And then I have a follow.
There's a foundation in place, but nothing's promised. We have to put in the work. We have to get the right leadership. A lot of things have to come together. We need to bring in more players, but there is a foundation in place that I feel really good about. We feel really good about, and but it does no good to talk about it. We need to bring in more players like that, like we brought in last year. But I do think we have a really good core to build on, and now we just have to do that.
And then the second question is anyone on staff a candidate for the head coaching job? And would you want to keep like Munch, Parker, Azani, or is that entirely up to the new head coach?
Yeah, we have, like I said, we have some really good really good coaches here, and it's going to be up to the new head coach to determine if they stay or not. But, none of the coaches here are candidates for the head coaching job.
Mark
Thanks.
Kisler, followed by Mike Kliss. Go ahead, Mark.
Hey, George, very directly, does it really matter who the next head coach is if you don't get the right quarterback? And how do you look at this as one big piece, coach and quarterback in this offseason?
Yeah, obviously I know how important that position is. It's the most important position in sports, but we're focused on the coach. And if you can get the right leader, that's the most important thing right now, is getting the right leader. And then we'll get the quarterback, we'll get the other positions. And, but no, the leadership and the right head coach for this football team is the number one priority.
Okay, let me follow with that. Do you think what's more essential to a winning football team in the NFL, the head coach or the quarterback?
Well, that's a good question, and I would say the head coach right now. We need a head coach. We'll focus on the quarterback at a different time. That's a debatable question that, I don't know if we have enough time, but right now we're focused on this head coaching search and get the right guy for the Denver.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, George, I was wondering, how much do you think the fact that there's going to be a transfer of ownership going to affect your coaching search, and maybe some of the questions the coaches might have to you about that?
Right, Mike, I was in the same position last year at this time. And with the leadership of Joe Ellis and his group, I had no issues, with the impending ownership transfer. And so I don't think that's an issue at all. I really don't.
And then as a follow-up, was there a thought here in the last couple of weeks of maybe keeping Vic and, changing up, giving him a quarterback, changing up some people on his staff, and, kind of keeping his defensive prowess?
We thought about everything, Mike. We went through every scenario. And how much we like Vic, but at the end, we thought the best, move for our football team was to make a change at this time.
As a reminder, if you can limit yourself to just one question and a follow-up only if necessary, that would be great. Nick, go ahead.
George, what are just some of the biggest qualities you are going to be looking for as you search for the next head coach?
The number one quality is leadership, and we're looking for someone to lead this entire organization, to lead this community, and to lead our players. And that's the number one trait we're looking for. Obviously, we want the best football coach. I'm not worried about what side of the ball, not worried about a play caller. We want leadership, and that's our number one priority.
Let's go Eric, followed by Brandon. Go ahead, Eric.
And George, you mentioned kind of those pieces you have in place. What in your mind makes it such an attractive offer? If you could expand on that a little bit about the opening.
Right. We have a lot of core players in place, and we have a lot of young players. And so I think there's a foundation in place where hopefully it doesn't take too long. Now you have to put in the work. We need to add. But if you watch a lot of our football games, we've won a lot of, we won 7 games, obviously, and we're in a lot more. And just a lot of young players, and our foundational pieces are young. And I just think if we can add to that, we're not far away.
Go for it, Brandon.
George, you said you're going to be thorough. What kind of challenges are in place? How much will you rely on Zoom, but with guys you might like that are in the playoffs and all of that? How long do you expect this to take? I know you're on the other side of it last year where COVID limited maybe some of your interactions as you went through the process early.
Yeah, we're going to look at the health and safety. Obviously you prefer to be in person, but we're going to do whatever it takes. Zooms, obviously we're all accustomed to Zoom if we have to Zoom, but we'd prefer to be in person. But we're also looking at the health and safety of these coaches. They're in the playoffs, so we're cognizant of that, and we're really at the mercy of the teams and what they allow.
Troy, then Andrew. Go ahead, Troy.
George, you talked about leadership being the number one priority in the next coach, but how much will offensive philosophy figure in? Because, and this predates you, but for 6 years since Peyton Manning, this team has not averaged more than 20 points a game. How much will that figure into the decision of the next coach, whether he's an offensive mind or he's defense and the person he would bring in to run the offense?
Yeah, obviously the offense, we need to upgrade the offense, and we know that. And whoever we talk to, obviously they're going to have to plan. They're going to have a plan for our offense. And if they're a defensive-minded coach, they're going to have to talk about their plan and their offensive coordinator and his coaching staff. and what his vision is, with our personnel. And so all that goes into it. And, offense is obviously a priority, but we don't want to take a step back on defense. And we also need to elevate special teams. So, we need someone to take over the whole operation. We're just not focused on one side of the ball, even though we need to really upgrade on that side of the ball.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Hey, George, you mentioned that Vic earlier in the press conference that Vic was the best coach you've ever been around. So kind of going off that, what do you look for to find somebody that is better, that is an upgrade on what you just have with Vic?
Right. Like I said, we're looking for a leader. Not that Vic was a really good leader, but we're looking for someone to lead the entire operation. And Vic was a great coach. Loved working with him. He loved what he did in the defensive side of the ball, the offense, everything. And Vic did a lot for this organization. But, we don't want to take a step back on defense, but we want to upgrade the other phases of the ball. And I can't say leadership enough. We're just looking for that right leader for this organization.
George, then Derek. Go ahead, George.
Yeah, George, I know you said you'll focus on quarterback later, but I'm wondering what you thought of Teddy and Drew's performances this year, your evaluation of them, and do you see in either of those guys being in your future?
Yeah, Drew's under contract, and we'll once we get a new staff in, we'll meet on our team and do a deep dive and identify guys we want to bring back and guys that maybe we don't. But in regards to the quarterbacks, I thought they did some good things. Obviously, we're a little up and down. I think I like the way Drew finished. The season. He didn't turn the ball over in his starts, but we want to win games. Part of the quarterback's job is to win, and we were close, but we need to finish those games. Teddy did a nice job. For the most part, he was up and down as well, as was our whole offense. And you can't just pin it on the quarterbacks. We need to block better. We need to catch better. We need to make the key plays in the key moments of games to win. And we haven't done that. Whether it's a drop here, a penalty there, a missed block, a fumble, two fumble returns for touchdowns is unprecedented. And you're not going to win many games when you lack those details and you make those mistakes in key moments of games.
Go ahead, Darren.
You mentioned that winning was critically important. Had you guys won yesterday, would that have made a difference?
Yeah, it's a hypothetical I really don't want to get into. We weighed everything, obviously, but it's a hypothetical. I don't want to get into hypotheticals.
Ryan, then Zach. Go ahead, Ryan.
Hey, George, your record is 7-10 as well this year. As you look back at some of the moves you made and didn't make, where did you feel you came up short?
Right. No, obviously I came up short because we didn't get to where we want to go, and it's on all of us. It's on the scouts, player personnel department. It's on the training staff, the strength and conditioning, the wellness. But we need to do a better job, across the board, and need to bring in players that perform at a higher level at these key moments. And so I don't want to go into individual players, so to speak, but we all need to do a better job.
Go ahead, Zach.
Hey, George, thanks for talking with us. How important is head coaching experience in your new head coach, or are you open to guys that have never been a head coach before?
Yeah, we're wide open. I think we're going to have an open book and keep all our options open. There's been a lot of great head coaches who never had experience, and vice versa. There's been really good head coaches that did have experience. So I think, we're going to keep an open mind, and it's going to be a wide range, and we're going to be very thorough, and we're going to look at all the candidates.
We have time for just a few more for George. Go ahead, Sean.
Hey, George, you talked about looking in the mirror. I'm curious, given what Joe said at the beginning, how much input, if any, will John Elway have in this process? And how much of the ultimately what failed in the Vic Fangio era is John's responsibility?
Yeah, John's going to be a resource like he's been since I've been here, a valuable resource. He's been through searches, and I will lean on him throughout the process. And what was your second question?
How much of some of the failures of the last 3 years are on John's?
I think the failure's on all of us, everyone in the organization. And we all have to look in the mirror. We all have to take responsibility, and it's just not one person. Obviously, we haven't been in the playoffs in 6 years, and we need to look in the mirror and fix it. And we're going to be urgent when we do that because it's not good enough, and we know it's not good enough.
Go for it, Jeff.
Hey, George, just sort of bookkeeping, but have you formally asked anyone for permission to speak to anybody yet? And when will you do that if you haven't?
Yeah, we have not. And I think probably tomorrow we'll start that process.
Go ahead, Mark.
And,
Go ahead, Jeff.
no, I just, can you formally say if you who else you have told you are relieving?
No, I mean, I met with the coaches, I met with our team, and I explained to the coaches, they know the process, it's going to be up to the new head coach if they're retained. And, if someone, grants, permission to speak with them, we'll certainly speak with them on a case-by-case basis. So I spent time with the coaches and the players.
Last two, Mark Kisla and Mike Kliss. Go ahead, Mark.
Obviously, the relationship between a general manager and a coach is very critical to success. In this past year, do you feel like you had to step in too often in terms of leadership, in terms of issues with this football team?
I did not. And, my relationship with Vic was, like I said earlier, it was a great partnership, and we communicated every day. We talked about the team. Issues come up throughout the season. We talked about, and we tried to fix. And that's just when you're dealing with 69 players, they happen. But Vic was Vic led, and we talked, and the relationship couldn't have been better in that aspect.
Finish us off, Mike.
Yes, George. You took this job a year ago, knowing that Patrick Mahomes is on the Chiefs and Justin Herbert was coming on with the Chargers. Your AFC West record is where this team has fallen short here. How do you plan on somehow, some way getting above these teams?
That's the goal, Mike. We need to play better in our division. We need to play better at home, and we haven't played good enough at home, and we have the greatest fans in the NFL, and we need to play better at home, and that's going to be an emphasis. Every move we make is going to be to try to get better in our division, and we know we're behind, and we know we need to do better, and so those would be the two things: playing better at home, and obviously playing better in our division.
George, thanks so much for the time. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much, guys.
And then now we'll bring Joe Ellis back to take your questions here momentarily. We'll lead off with Ryan once he is in front of the camera. Okay, go ahead, Ryan.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Ryan.
Hey, I know you said in your opening statement about the ROFR, but from a layman's terms, can you explain why it's necessary to wait for that decision before moving forward?
I'm not going to do that. I apologize. I know you'd like to get, a lot of people would like to get the answer, but I'll do it in due time. We've been in consultation with our legal team, and we're just going to wait and let the court go through its process and issue a ruling at some point here. And then we'll take that ruling, we'll digest it, look at it, evaluate it, and then you'll probably see me up here again in front of a screen or maybe live, depends on where we are, I guess, with all this COVID stuff. But for now, I'm just going to pass on a comment on that. I know
as a follow-up, do you think this will be a roadblock during the coaching search, or will not be a factor?
I don't think it'll be a factor. In just hearing from people all around the league and talking to George and knowing what's in place here, I really feel we've got every opportunity with George's leadership here and finding the right coach to get a great coach.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Hey, Joe, you know how tough the last few years have been, and George mentioned that as well. So from your perspective, kind of how frustrating was this season? And for you kind of overseeing the entire organization business-wise, how alarming is it when you see 10,000 plus no-shows happening game after game like we saw down the stretch?
Well, frustration levels have reached an all-time high for everyone. And I'm not just talking about me, I'm talking about fans. And, the disappointment is the same thing. It's sort of become systemic here. What's been happening to us. We can't figure out ways to win games, and that's got to change. And somehow it's got to, and I can sit up here and talk about it, but that's just cheap. That doesn't get anywhere. It's just got to happen. And, we're going to have to come in with a fresh start with a new coach, and George is going to, in tandem with him, going to have to raise the expectations and the energy level and the inspiration so that our fans will get inspired by the team again. I mean, 10,000 no-shows a game. There's a lot of factors. We're not the only team going through that, but you've all seen, I've seen that stadium when it's electric and it's packed, and we've got to figure out a way to start showing the fans that they're going to come back and watch these games and be energized and excited about it. And, I'm one of hundreds of thousands or millions of citizens in Broncos country that is just tired of it, and I don't want to stand up here. Well, I won't stand up here next year, but I've been standing up here for 3 or 4 or 5 years, whatever it's been, and saying the same thing to you guys, and it's got to stop. Someone else will stand up here next year, and it'll be a positive spin with a positive attitude. And really, I think, I just believe that this team is getting closer. We've got to figure out how to win, not figure out how to lose. Figure out how to win. We can do it. We can put the pieces in place where this organization will do it.
Go ahead, Brandon.
Joe, you I'm sure we're standing there as George was talking. He took plenty of blame, but you said you're giving him the full autonomy to make the next hire. What have you liked, or maybe not liked, but just evaluating George's first year at the helm running the football side?
I like everything about his thoroughness, his work ethic, his ability to administrate, his understanding of football, his understanding of what it takes to put a good team together, to put a team on the field that has an opportunity to win every game. I think we're very fortunate. And I think that the strategic vision of this franchise is in good hands with George, and it lies with him moving forward. And we're lucky we have it. And, I think whoever the owner is in the future will recognize that very quickly. And, but it takes more than just George. It does. It takes everybody. It takes all the players, all the coaches. It's going to take whoever the next owner is. It's going to take the entire support staff to be pulling everything in the same direction and have a positive outlook and turn it over from where, things go bad. We face some adversity. We can't win. We got to start winning. We got to figure out how to overcome adversity and start winning some games.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Joe, you're depending how you slice it, you're essentially looking for your fourth new head coach leader in the last 6-7 years or so. Is this, and I asked George this as well, is this a quarterback issue, an organizational issue, a combination of both, a business issue? How do you slice this problem?
I think it's organization. I think we have to do a better job of putting together the best possible team. Quarterback is a critical position. All right. But, it's not just that. It's everything. So it's organization, Jeff.
Go for it, Eric.
Joe, George mentioned leadership as kind of the number one quality he was going to look for in a new coach. How critical do you view that as you begin the search?
It's obviously critical. I think from my standpoint and from George's standpoint, we'll need a leader who inspires. And I think our fans are looking for that. And I think everybody can feed off of that. So, George talked about someone who's got a high level of football sophistication along with leadership. And I think together those two components will inspire people, and we should get better.
Mark, then Arnie. Go ahead, Mark. Mike, then Arnie. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, Joe, quite a few people out and about, whether at the local diner, have said that, they tell me that the Broncos won't ever get straightened out until they get an owner. And even Mayor Hancock weighed in the other day saying that they got to get this ownership figured out before this team can get back on track. What do you say to that as a guy who's been kind of the ownership delegate here the last 10 years, really.
The mayor's one of many unsatisfied customers and a disgruntled former employee. So, you know, he's entitled to share his like everybody else in Broncos country, and he's not all wrong. You know, and just like people weigh in on his city, people are weighing in on our team. So I understand the frustration levels, and when it comes to ownership, we do need to resolve that, and it will get resolved. I do know that, but it's just I need to lay out for you all a clearer timeline, lay out for Broncos country a clearer timeline and understanding of what it all entails. And I think I will be able to do that at some point here in the near future.
We've got time for just a few more. Go ahead, Arnie.
Hey, Joe, I know you kind of led this push in your organization to bring in females into executive positions, more minorities into the organization, but your coaching staff had, I think, the fewest minorities in the league this year. Do you think that's something that should extend to the new coaching staff, that there be more faces of color?
Yeah, that's been kind of cyclical, Arnie. I think if you look at some of our past staffs, we've had quite a bit of diversity. I anticipate whoever the new coach is, that'll be an afterthought. He will most certainly create and put together a diverse staff. I'm very confident that that'll be part of the plan moving forward.
Thanks.
Mark Kisla, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll follow up on KUSA's question a little bit, because it's my premise that if ownership isn't right, then it makes it a lot tougher for your GM or your coach or whoever that might be. How has this last 5 years weighed on you? And given that you're toward the end of your time, where are you going to take satisfaction in 2022? What would make you happy in 2022?
Well, I'll answer the latter part of it. The first part of your question, it doesn't matter how tough it's been on me, and I'm a frustrated and disappointed fan, as the rest of Broncos country is. But 22 would be winning. I mean, I said it in training camp. I was hopeful we'd make the postseason. Because once you get there, you have a chance. And I think it also, Mark, helps to have an exciting brand of football that fans can get behind and come and watch. I thought yesterday was an exciting football game, I think the fans would like to see more of that. But the fans want to win, and that's what I want to. And I would be happy for George and whoever the new coach is. If next year I'm sitting at home watching the team play in the postseason with a chance to do some stuff. You never know what happens once you get there. But that's what you got to aspire to. And eventually, once you get there, then you start aspiring to championships, which we were able to do a few years back. So that's really what it comes down to. We're good at a lot of stuff as a corporate citizen here. And I'm proud of the staff, proud of all the people on the business side for the work they do. But at the end of the day, FedEx gets judged by how they deliver packages. We get judged by how we perform on the field. That's what our business is. And we have not performed well recently, and for a number of years now, obviously. So that has to change. It simply has to change in order to win back the trust and the enthusiasm and the excitement of the fan base, as well as re-energize the organization. It's tough on a lot of people when you lose like this. It's not asking for sympathy, because we get what you deserve, but we've got to turn that around. We got to have a winning team, a winning season, get to the postseason, start doing some good stuff once we're there.
Final two, Ryan, then Troy. Go ahead, Ryan.
Hey, Joe, George is running this search, but what will be your role this time around? And will you travel to all the interviews?
Not much. No, I don't think I will. I'll be on the sidelines. And if George needs me for resource reasons to talk to some of the candidates, I certainly will do that for him. But this is his search. This is his decision. And I have great confidence that it'll go very well.
Thank you. Finish this off, Troy.
Joe, you touched on it, but it's not just the losing 6 years. I mean, I would contend you've been bad and you've been boring. That's what I hear from season ticket holders all the time. How much of being a good offensive team and winning could help bring back home field advantage, which has vanished kind of over these last 3-4 years? And you were the most dominant team in home field basically for 3 decades. How much can an exciting product help return that home field advantage and kind of re-energize this organization?
Well, I mean, an exciting product is great, but you got to combine that with winning. And I think that will get things energized within the community and certainly in the stadium on game days and you know, hopefully cut down on some of the no-shows that were there. This was an odd year. We did a lot of research on the no-shows. They're happening all over the league. And I think COVID has something to do with that, but obviously the level of play and the way we've been performing at home has a lot of people discouraged. And I'm confident we can turn that around. I am, but you know, I've been saying that for a number of years. So you can see that my frustration, my disappointment, it needs to be overturned too. And it's really up to all of us. And it'll be up to George and the new coach and everybody there. And I know I'll feel good about the people in place. I feel very good, as I said earlier, about where George is and what he's doing for us. I do think we have some good foundation pieces. I think in a number of instances we were close, but we just, every time we got close, we got back down, it seemed to me, in some of the key moments of the season. So we got to overcome that and get rid of that systemic pattern that we've been in.
You weren't limited when you hired George. You gave him a monster 6-year deal. The ownership issue wouldn't limit the type of contract you could present to a coaching candidate, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Joe, thanks so much for the time. We appreciate you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
That's going to do it for today's Zooms.
Thanks, Jordan.
We'll be in
Sure.
touch about further media availabilities. Thank you.